didn't realize I was baptized until I saw my godparents' pictures. And, I went through catechism for some time and went through the ceremonies of confirmation and First Communion, and then confession and all the ceremonies that we do. And as a teenager going to Mass, I didn't really understand too much because the priest would speak in Latin, and it looked ceremonial to me. That's kind of how I felt, and I didn't understand it. So as a teenager, I sort of just walked away from that. And then I went to the service for 4 years, which taught me some discipline. And I got out, and
before you get out of the service, say something about the service. What branch were you?
Okay.
What places you visit?
I was in the Air Force and over for about 3.5 years over in Southeast Asia during the Vietnam conflict. So I visited countries like Korea, Okinawa, Thailand, Japan, and decided that at the end of that they wanted me to re-enlist, but with what was going on in this country at that time, I said, no, I'm out. So I got out, and pretty much it was like the things, I guess, of the worldly type of things. In the service, there's not much you do, but I had from that, I kind of had an alcohol problem. And but my attitude was pretty positive. I went to work and thought I was doing good because I would get everybody a break and help when I needed. But there was something missing. It was like a rudder without a ship for many years during that time. And then actually in 1990, my wife and I went to this First Presbyterian church and became members. And I belonged to a service team that would help around the grounds and everything. So once we signed this little book that they passed around, the next couple of days there was a knock on the door, and these two guys showed up and said, "Can we come in? We want to talk to you about Jesus." And I said, "Well, sure, you can come on in." And Gloria was fixing something, and she wasn't kind of too happy about just inviting somebody in. But they sat down with me and they said, "Well, do you know what it means to be saved?" And I said, "Well, in my thoughts, as long as I do good, I think I'm okay." And they told me, "Well, that's not good enough." And they had this little book that showed a chasm. They showed me or whoever, and then across the way was God, and there was this gap. And across this gap was a cross. And I said, "Well, can you explain to me what that really is?" And they said, "Well, you have to have Jesus come into your life and accept Him as your Lord and Savior." And I said, "Well, I didn't really know that, but it makes sense." So a week or so later, I said to the pastor, I want to accept Jesus into my life. And he did the prayer, and that was sort of the beginning. And it was pretty much going there and doing my work, and then having the service at Sunday where I learned a little bit, but still I think I was just more or less going through the motions. So I was with this church for almost 20 years.
Wow.
Then in 2009, in December, I got this little flyer in the mail that kind of piqued my interest. A lot of this junk mail you get, you just throw away, but this had it said Revelation of Hope on it, and it had some of these animals on it. At the time, I didn't know what they meant. And I said, "Well, something, I have to go check this out." So for 3 weeks, several nights a week, this gentleman called Taj Pakleb, who was a pastor, started reading and talking about Bible things, and it was almost like this 3 weeks was so much study condensed. It would probably take you 20 years to go through. It was all so much information, and I learned that actually that the true Sabbath was on a Saturday. And I said, well, I didn't really realize that. And at the end, I got convicted to make the change.
Amen.
And I severed. I didn't burn any bridges from my old church. I just said, I've learned something new, and I'm going to be leaving and going to a different church. And they talked about baptism, and I kind of studied that, what that was about. So I got baptized in the Adventist church in February of 2010.
Amen.
And that changed my whole life from then. It was, and a couple of months in April after I got baptized, it was just overnight to where I quit drinking. That just was gone. I just woke up the next day saying, well, I'm not having any more alcohol. That was just no withdrawals, no regrets, just it's gone. So I just
Praise
thought,
the
wow,
Lord.
the Spirit must have just been working on me. And since then, I've been reading more of the Bible, and it's been a journey of learning. And I look back on my life that some of the areas or things that I've been through, I realize now that God had to have a guardian angel there, because there could have been some disasters with some of these things that transpired over my time. So I intended up in the Bay Area where I lived for that was 2010. I attended a Filipino church for a couple of years up there. It was real close by. And it was nice, real friendly people, and every Sabbath we had a nice meal going. And then in 2012 I moved down here to Desert Hot Springs and sought out and found this church here. It was the closest one in town, so I said, well, this is going to be my new home. And since then, this is where I've been coming.
Amen.
And since my wife didn't actually see what I saw, she was a little bit apprehensive about going to service on Saturday, but eventually, with some training from Dwayne and Norman, going through some studies, she eventually got baptized right over there in that baptismal here in this church. So that was a praise. So everybody that I've met has been kind and loving, and actually too, my diet's changed a bit too from some of the learning that I've learned. So that's kind of where it's been.
Wow.
And since I pretty much was a service guy in my job all these years, I find it good just to be blessed with good physical health, that I can help others when needed. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. I cannot imagine this church without. Oh, wait. A little thank you. Thank you.
God bless you.
Amen.